How you doing, Kieran?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Thanks again for taking the time to join us tonight or today.
All good. No worries.
All right. Just waiting on I think a couple more people or one more person, and then we'll get started here. I don't know. WT might be working right now, so maybe not. Maybe he won't be coming up. So, um, yeah. Rubik, how you doing, bud?
Oh, good man. Lunch break at work, so good timing. Thanks for putting this at right on at 12 for me. Hey, Karen, how you going? I think I've been following you for since the very start of this journey, and it's really good to finally get to have a chat with you.
Yeah, man, doing well. I do recognize your name. I think it has been a few years. So good to be chatting with you, man.
All right. Let's. I guess we can get started. Um, for those of you that don't know, Kieran is the co-founder of illuvium. Um, got three different game modes or games that are being developed basically under one IP. Got the overworld where it's kind of a free roam open world, and then you have Zero, which is the kind of city builder uh, game, and then the third is the arena, which is kind of like a PvP or even you can play versus AI if you want. And yeah, so that's like a kind of an auto battler, auto chess type game. Um, Probably one of the most sought after games for Web3, I think, in terms of quality. So that's for sure one of the bigger things that's drawing a lot of people to the game. At least I know a lot of people that I talk to. Um, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Kieran, and a little bit about Illuvium and what you guys are doing there?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm one of the co-founders. We've been building now for 3 years, or a little over 3 years now. And as you said, it's three different games that are all interoperable, and once we go live, they're all utilizing the same assets across the entire ecosystem. So you've got Zero, which is the city builder, where you basically generate fuel, which is required in all of the games that we build in the ecosystem. Then you've got the overworld, which is more like a Pokemon type game where you're exploring and traveling to different regions. And the whole idea there is to figure out what has happened on this mysterious planet and collect all of the characters and then take them into our third game, which is Arena, which is more similar to like a TFT style game or like a Dota auto chess. And yeah, the cool thing is once we go live, you will have ownership in game. You will be able to utilize your assets across every new game that we build in the ecosystem. And yeah, it's super exciting. We're looking to get things live as soon as possible, and that's definitely going to be early this year, which pretty excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a landowner as well, so I was excited about the blueprint mint that you guys just did. Um, I still actually have two blueprints that I'm trying to research right now, and I'm like hoping that I get them before the time is up for the mint window. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about the Illuvium Zero and the blueprints and how that works?
Yeah, so blueprints are interesting because they basically give you the recipe, if you will, to uh, to mint a skin in the for arena, for overworld, for any new games that we build, and they're also similarly to the alluvials where they're tied to a bonding curve. They get harder and harder to research or to find over time, and so they're going to be pretty scarce. Obviously, the ones that are available now are uh, more common, I would say, than some of the other ones that will launch once the game goes live. But yeah, it's basically its own economy where if someone wants to mint a skin or use the skin or buy a skin, instead of it coming from a centralized entity that decides, hey, we're going to sell 10,000 skins or 20,000 skins or whatever it might be, it comes from the players, and so you in order to actually mint that skin, you need to have a bunch of, call them, ingredients, and but the only way that you can mint it, or even know how to mint it, is if you have that blueprint, which is the recipe. So that's really exciting, really good bonus to give to the Illuvium Zero players. It's been a couple of years for them prior to having anything special like that. So exciting for them. And I think the biggest thing though is that they're waiting for uh, they're waiting to be able to generate the fuel, right? Like the only way that you can do things in the overworld is by purchasing fuel, and these land holders receive 5% of every fuel transaction. So it's basically an investment that they made into the ecosystem, and yeah, once we go live, that will start paying off for them.
Cool. I'll ask the next question. A lot of people already know a lot about the game and all that, but there's little talk about, we're a mutable focused podcast, and there's little talk about that in-depth conversation about the immutable partnership. So with the ZK EVM launching the end of this month, you were initially going to build on the StarkX implementation. And what does that look like now that ZK EVM is coming out? Is the whole game going to be on ZK EVM, parts of it, or is it still staying on StarkX?
Yeah, so we're still on Stark for the main game. The While it's really exciting to see the ZK EVM launch for Immutable, we're about 18 months into the build, and so our entire system has been built from the ground up based on Stark. And but I will say that there are elements that will move to the ZK EVM, like the fuel exchange. That's going to be built on the EVM, and potentially other things in the future as well. Probably more our DeFi stuff, like staking V2, and staking V3, and any other applications like that in the future.
Yeah,
Ah, cool.
I saw that you guys mentioned that staking was likely going to be moving to L2. So I was hoping, or I figured that in all likelihood that it would be moving to the ZK EVM when that does happen. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's while it's amazing to get revenue distributions, it's not amazing if we're in a bull run and you're being you've got a $50 fee.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you've got these exorbitant fees that you're being charged to claim. Let's call it, you have $200 in rev distributions, and then you get a $30 fee or whatever it is. It's kind of a little bit
Right.
doesn't.
You go to claim your rewards, and gas at the time on L1 is something ridiculous, like
Yeah,
30 to $50, and you're like, okay, there's 20% of my rev
yeah,
dis going to gas fees.
no fun.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, not fun at all. And it totally makes sense to do that. So looking out into this year of 2024, what are you most excited about releasing? Probably full. Do you expect to go full launch this year?
Yeah, 100%. So we're looking to go live very, very soon. So like as soon as possible. We're even talking about launching more in like an MVP state, which is interesting because our MVP is still obviously way, way, way more than what most ecosystems are going live with. But we've recognized that it's been a long time that we've been building. We've got a lot of stakeholders that are super excited about us going live. We've got the overworld in a good state. We've got arena in a good state, and so yeah, we definitely want to go live early this year. And I think that it's a little bit cliche, but that's what I'm most excited about. Just going live with everything and seeing people actually have ownership in our games. It hasn't existed until now. So I think once people actually go into the overworld and start capturing alluvials, that will be the moment where I'm like, okay, now it's real.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you were kind of talking about like the three game model that you guys are implementing. How do you think that the decision to do that model plays out?
I think people like it kind of still feels like a pipe dream that you could have three games that are utilizing all of the same assets across the entire ecosystem. They're all interconnected. And even expanding on that, new games in the future that are that we build that are in the ecosystem, being able to take your alluvial that you capture in the overworld and not just play it in arena, a completely separate game, but being able to use that as your racing kart for a Mario Kart style game that we have planned in the future, or like a dungeon crawler or a MOBA, or all of these new games that we have planned. It kind of still, because it hasn't been done before, it kind of doesn't seem real, right? Like there's a lot of games that are building in the space that there's one game, right? And you have ownership, and that's awesome. The ability for you to go and play or collect or grind and get a whole bunch of resources that you actually own, and you can access a marketplace and sell them. That's a really, really cool concept, but we're still yet to see an interoperable universe where assets flow through each of the games inside of this gated ecosystem. We haven't seen that yet, and so for me, that is that's going to be when people really see the true value of what we've been building. It's going to be pretty immense, I would say.
You want to go, WT? Or I wanted to ask a question regarding that interoperability. Like, how much extra dev work and effort and cost goes into having to build something as complex as that? Is that a small percentage of the total build of the game, or is it a big chunk that's costing time, effort, and money, that kind of thing?
No, it's definitely been a huge effort to to make things interoperable, not just at a story level and a game design level, but actually in the back end, the front end. Everything needs to be cohesive, which is extremely hard, right? And we don't have an example where we can sort of look at and say, okay, well, they did this, so we'll copy these elements. We're literally building this as pioneers and the first ever game or the first ever studio to come out with multiple titles that are all interoperable. So it's definitely been a huge uplift in development, but we think it's really going to pay off, and we will be the first that launch an ecosystem like this. But there'll be many, many, many more studios that follow suit, just purely because it's such an amazing experience being able to go through and have something that you grinded for and you were playing for thousands of hours in one game, and then 5 years later or 10 years later, you're utilizing that same asset in a completely different game, and it's all cohesive. It fits with the narrative and the storyline. That, like, I don't know. That for me is such an exciting prospect.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think many people won't understand what you mean until you actually deliver it, mate. So, and it'll be like a aha moment for people that really see. You see complaints about the empty overworld or the arena being a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But when this all connects together and the incentives align, and it will become an aha moment for people. And when they go, "Why don't I catch this? I own it, and then I can use it in the arena," and then they'll feel more attached to that alluvial in the arena because they own it. They spend all that time, effort finding it, or they spent $5,000 buying it. So I get what you mean, man, and I think we're very close to seeing that come to fruition. Sorry, I'll ask one last question. It's kind of related. So with all this technical work you're doing, how does that has that impacted the ability to incorporate passport, or is that a future for illuvium? Are you going to incorporate passport, or is that probably because of this complexity, maybe not able to use it?
No. So we were originally building essentially our own passport, and it was kind of funny where I was talking to Robbie, and I was saying, this would be we're building this. It would be an awesome thing for you guys to have. The reason why we think it would be awesome for you guys to have this is because it's sort of gated. And our own solution was going to be gated within the illuvium universe, which is fine for what we're building. And obviously, we think we're going to have millions of players that are going in between our games, but it sort of isn't a good experience when you need to create another account and another account for any other games that you want to play on Immutable. And Robbie was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, how far in are you to building this? And we were like, we've done the architecture, we've started the preliminary build. And he was like, fuck, stop doing that because we're literally doing the exact same thing. So we ended up going, oh, sweet, awesome, and yeah, we're definitely going to be implementing passport once we go live on chain, and I think we're actually finalizing the last couple of weeks of the build there, the integration.
Yeah, that's awesome. WT, you had your hand up? Do you got a question?
Yeah, that's some really good stuff. Really pumped up to hear that. I was kind of wanting to know. You guys unveiled the arena PvP not too long ago. How happy has the team been with the results with that? And is there any kind of tweaks that you guys are looking at making to it, or are you guys pretty much like, yeah, this is exactly what we wanted, and we're just going to go forward with this?
No, so we're obviously fairly happy with the results. It's Arena is a very competitive strategic game, and so it's not like Overworld where a casual I would say this cautiously, but a casual player can go into the overworld, start capturing things. It's a very easy thing to pick up. Like there's no sort of competitive aspect to it, and versus Arena, which is super competitive. It's got an esports scene that is building around it. There's multiple tournaments that we're doing, and so you need to be quite skilled to be able to play it. But at the same time, we're trying to reduce the complexity there for a player that's first starting off. Uh, the onboarding process is quite steep, and the learning curve is the same there. So what we're looking at right now is, and this is why we tried to make it very, very clear to people, this is a beta. We're obviously, we have the ability to update things and change things to make things easier for people to understand, to make more players feel comfortable getting in there. And so we're actually building a proof of concept at the moment, which I won't reveal too much, but I would say it takes away probably 50% of the complexity right now, and it makes it even more. There's even more strategic ways that you can play the game, and but also reducing the complexity. We're building that proof of concept now. If the game design team feels like that is going to stick, then we'll probably set up a testing environment for some players, and then if all goes well and people like that, then we can migrate to that at some stage in the future.
Yeah, I think when I first jumped into the arena, there definitely was that steep learning curve of trying to figure out what the different augments did and how to use them and how to place them on which alluvials and things like that. So I know that there was kind of that talk about, are we using the alluvials? Are we really more planning for which augments are we going to play? And that kind of had that give and take of, um, you know, are we focusing too much on the augments and how to use that and take away certain advantages from teams and things like that in the meta? And I could definitely see that argument. When it came to finally having that aha moment of, hey, I think I understand how to play this now, it started to become like extremely fun. And that competitive nature that you were talking about is absolutely true, because I was getting heated when I lost a match, and I'm like, no way that actually just happened, because I know the damage this is supposed to do, and there's no fucking way this guy just absorbed that hit, and then I realized that, like, hey, this guy had an augment on that alluvial that completely countered what that alluvial was doing, right? And I was like, that son of a bitch. So realizing that, and I was like, okay, now I have to kind of adjust how I'm playing it. I have to adjust where I'm placing that alluvial because of that. And that's something that's incredibly, like, it's super competitive, and I see how that turns into the esports side of things, and having someone that you could sit there and theory craft for hours on end on these different alluvial, like, team composition and what augments and what different like gear you're putting on your ranger and things like that. So absolutely hats off to you guys for putting out that much complexity, because it's not freaking easy, and it's completely different. Like, I was playing arena, like, in the early beta where you're only playing versus AI, and it's a completely different game when you're playing against a person.
Yeah, 100%. And I share the same frustrations, I guess, and thoughts with you that but we want that, right? Like we want it to be a super competitive game that takes a long while to master, but at the same time, we want your initial playtesting to be fun and easy to understand. So it's about striking that balance between easy to understand but still having a very complex strategic gameplay that
Yeah,
takes a long
easy to
time.
understand, hard to master.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So you guys have done some collaborations with like GameStop and uh, Liquid, right? Do you see any other collaborations coming up with either GameStop again, any other partnerships or anything like that?
So we've talked to GameStop about going on their launcher, and the whole deal with Illuvium Beyond is that we need one partner per wave, which theoretically means 4 partners a year, and that's just specifically to Illuvium Beyond. So we've got some really exciting partnerships coming up, and that's why it's in the community. There's been a lot of talk about don't launch the next wave of Illuvatars until the game launches, which I strongly disagree with, and I think the reason that I do is because we've got such an awesome partnership lined up, and so for me, I'm like, let's not delay that partnership. It has the ability to acquire so many new users and generate such a large amount of revenue. I don't see the reason to delay it, but yeah, we're always. Lauren, our head of partnerships, is amazing at what he does. He's got his fingers in a lot of pies. So yeah, expect a lot more to come from new partnerships, but not so much. I mean, Team Liquid, we've got the tournament coming up this year. GameStop potentially the launcher, but not, let's say, another Illuvitas partnership. We want to keep that fresh and new.
I've got a suggestion for Living Beyond. I collect a few of those, and I don't bond anything because I like the ability to keep my Illuvatars clean. But I would bond it if I was able to unbond everything and destroy all those bonded equipment. And then someone said, well, that makes it less rare kind of alluvials, Illuvitars. You could then say, you have to have an identical copy or a similar copy Illuvitar to burn along with all the bonded stuff to return your original Illuvitar to yourself. So therefore you are actually burning the Illuvitar and Illuvitar, making them more rare. But you can, I would then start bonding. What do you any thoughts on that?
I would say stay tuned with Illuvium Beyond. We've got something that will make bonding. I'm with you. I've kept almost I think 99.9% of my Illuvitars clean, but in the near future, it may be worthwhile to start bonding, and I won't give too much away there.
Ooh, alpha.
Nice. Yeah, I'm with Rubik there as well. Like I felt bad putting some of the bonding items on there because like one of them, this really badass looking Lynx, and I'm like, there's no way I'm putting these glasses on this guy. And but if there's an incentive to do so, then possibly I might have to. When it
Get
comes
those glasses ready. That's all I.
yeah, and maybe I don't mind putting like the cigar in there. It looks pretty badass. But so how likely do you see PvP Arena becoming like an esports success?
I think definitely. It's as I said, it's very much still in beta form. We've got a lot of changes planned, but it's a very good base of what can become an extremely competitive game we've spoken to a bunch of esports teams, like very obviously Team Liquid being one, but very large esports teams that have players that often go to TFT tournaments, and they're very interested in joining and seeing what we what we end up developing the game into. And so I would say we've got a very good baseline, and we're in the process of hiring an esports manager and a shoutcaster to really start getting things going. We obviously have an advantage over Web 2 games in that we have that million tokens that have been put aside for things like tournaments, and a lot of the esports scene is going to attribute to those prize pools. And so $90 million at our disposal to get things going is quite a large carrot in when we're talking about building that esports team.
For sure. Do you guys see yourself like? Do you see Illuvium sponsoring, like having your own team, or are you gonna have that all be like third party?
No. Definitely not sponsoring teams ourselves, but we definitely want to acquire a bunch of different esports teams to come into the game and start playing, but we won't sponsor them directly ourselves. No.
Makes sense. And talking about it, like I know there's an absolutely massive audience when it comes to TFT and things like that. So there's absolutely no shortage of people that want to see this stuff, that are excited to be a part of this style of game and things like that. And so there's no doubt that's possible to, being in, that it's possible for it to be a huge success.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So yeah, I've got a quick question. Sorry guys, I can't put my hand up. The desktop won't let me. But my question is more of along the lines of, like, when you created the word illuvium, what was the creation process behind that, and what inspired you to inspired those individual characters that you made in the game?
So the three brothers that built or that co-founded Illuvium originally, myself, Aaron, and Grant, we love animals, right? Like we all have a shared interest in animals in general, and one of the things that I would say piques our interest most is endangered or even extinct animals, and we want to stop that from happening and do whatever we can. And so not only do we find them interesting, and you'll see once the story line gets revealed that, like, how we intertwine the different animals and species into the lore, but we wanted to make a difference there. And so one of the things that we spoke about very early on was, if we make a character that is highly endangered, maybe we can have some charitable percentage that goes towards, like, the trading fees for that, where we can give it to a charity to try and stop that animal from going extinct. And so yeah, that was just one interesting thing that we all agreed on, and we liked the idea of collecting. And so it just made sense, given that we want to have many characters. We needed to be in a space where we could utilize the different animals that are out there.
You kind of touched on a subject that Wandering actually raised with us internally to ask you about. You said something about lore. That's something that has been really missing from anything you've what I've seen, maybe you have shown it on the Discord and I've missed it, but how big a play is lore into Illuvium's game overall, and is that being kept for the surprise when the release comes, or tell us about the lore?
Yeah, so I mean, we've revealed very, very little of the storyline, and the whole idea is that we keep it that way, and we're very transparent. We leak a ton of new stuff that we're building, but one thing that we'll never leak is the storyline and the lore behind what illuvium actually is. And the reason is it's your job as a player to go in and figure out what happened, right? Like, what is illuvium? How did these people get there? Obviously, we've explained that you crash land on this mysterious planet, but what happened before that? Why did you get there? How are these crazy powerful alluvials roaming around this planet? All of that needs to remain a mystery. And as a ranger, as you go through the overworld and you start unlocking new regions, you will figure that out. And then once you get to the end of the game, you realize, okay, now I understand, right? And we'll never give that away because and very few people on our team even know that that storyline, because we want to keep it a secret, so it's something that the players uncover as you go through.
I actually love that, the mysterious bit. That's brilliant, man. It's a strategy that isn't really I've seen being used before. So yeah, props to you for that. I think that's a great way to get the story told, to just come and experience it to a sense.
Sorry, I wanted to stole your thunder there with that question. I just want to make that clear that that was your question, and I wanted to make sure that it got asked, that it was the right time to ask it. So I just jumped in and did what I normally do, spoke over all my colleagues. So, I wanted to go on. Actually, one last question from me. I've always thought about this, and not many people. I'm not sure if this is too personal or not, but your father's a highly successful tennis player, I believe. Is that correct, Kieran? In
Yeah,
Australia. Yeah.
I think he
So,
got to 13 in the world, something like that. Yep.
yeah, he was like, in Australia, tennis is one of the biggest games, and we've got a huge history of good tennis players. So my question was, what's it like growing up with a father that's been successful in the in the Australian spotlight, and what negative and positive impacts has that had on you in your life? It might be too personal. You can tell me to shut up, you want, mate.
Kieran goes on, "Screw you, Dad." He's just like,
No. It was tough, right? Like, no, I think growing up with an extremely competitive, call it famous dad, would create pressure on any child. I think to sort of live up to that expectation, and to not even the expectation of our parents, because I wouldn't say that was I think it was inherently there, but not something that was like, you must be successful, otherwise we won't love you type situation. But I would say our our friends, our family, like our the people that looked up to my dad, there was this weird sort of expectation that, well, because you were successful, your kids have got to be successful as well, right? Like, that just makes sense. And so, again, it's not something that you like really think about until you get a bit older, and then you're like, okay, wow, there was this expectation from everyone that you end up being successful at whatever you do. It doesn't really matter what you do, but you need to be good at what you do, right? Based on the fact that your dad was, so you should be as well. That kind of just inherently was there as we were growing up. But I think it's even further exacerbated when you have 4 boys. You've got the highly, highly competitive in absolutely everything that we did, it was, I want to be the best, right? Out of the four boys. And that created a very, I would say, volatile environment where it's almost kill or be killed in every single situation that you're in, right? And that prepares you for the real world when you go out into that, and all of a sudden you got your first job, you've got situations which other people, I would say, believe are quite high pressured. Myself personally, and I know my brothers also think this, it's kind of like, well, is it? This seems fine, right? Like the bear market, one of them, right? Like I had one of my mates come up to me, and he was like, so just to be clear here, like you had $2 billion and now $1.9 billion has just been wiped from you. Like how, like, are you good? Like, are you, how do you feel about that? And I was like, it's fine. It's just what it is, right? Like it's markets. They go up, they go down. They're gonna, we haven't even launched our product. Like I'm fine. And they're like, but how? How could you be fine with like? And again, right? Like obviously it's paperwork and whatever, but like he's like, I just don't understand it. Like surely you're ready to like kill someone. Like, are you angry? I'm like, no, I'm fine. Like it's just life, and I think that definitely stems from the type of environment that we're in growing up, right? Where you build a very, very hard skin that there's not many things in the world that faze me, to be completely honest. I don't know. Maybe that makes me a psychopath, but it's how I feel.
Thanks for answering that question. That was awesome.
Yeah,
Go on, WG.
yeah. Thanks. Thanks for opening up and sharing that with us. That was really, it was really cool and powerful. And I just want to let everybody know here, if you guys ever ask me a question like that, I'm going to reenact the Dr. Evil scenario from Austin Powers. And like, I was placed in a burlap sack and beaten with meat sticks just to get everybody thrown off. Yeah, I had a question. You guys have, really just taken the Web3 space as one of the top echelon games. One of the major problems for a lot of games, obviously, is player volume and easy onboarding access. Besides those two things, is there any other major challenges that you guys are dealing with right now?
I think the overarching challenge of Web 2 gamers, or let's just call them normal gamers, having a distaste for Web3 and blockchain and crypto and NFTs and like all of these things that we're building. There is a very clear and obvious I mean there's so many words that I could use to describe the hatred that people have for blockchain, but that is the biggest thing for us, right? Like we can obviously, you open up the overworld and you start rewarding people for playing in arena, and you do like the airdrops and all of the things that everyone else does in this space in order to get the 3 million, let's call them gamers, that are trying to extract value from these ecosystems. That's the easy part. Anyone can do that. As long as you've been smart enough to portion off a percentage of your token, and to give you that ability to reward people for playing, you're always going to be able to tap into those things. They'll play fucking anything, right? Like literally anything. I make the joke that you create a game called Poopy.io, and you've got a dog that goes out into this lawn and it starts pooping on the lawn, and it's your job to come and pick up the poop and put it into the compost. And every time you pick up a poop, you get 1 cent. people are going to fucking play it in this space, right? Now, that's the easy part. The hard part is getting mainstream people to 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 actually want to play these games, and
To come and clean up shit, you think?
so no. So I laugh about that because I often tell that to our team, and they're like, I cannot believe you use that example, but I'm like, that's literally like that is literally where we're at.
Well,
But
that's what they did. They released a game called
Yeah.
Yuki Dash, for
Yeah.
fuck's sake.
I'm writing that down right now, actually.
Put that unicorns, mate. You collect poop every day. Unicorn poop. It's not a joke. You must do that.
I've already secured the website poopy.io, so you won't be able to use that, but I'm sure you can use something else. But no, like being like uh, all in all seriousness, it's very easy to do that. My point there is to make such an extreme example because it doesn't matter what you build in order to get these 3 million people that are in Web3 right now. And obviously, I'm being facetious there. There is a percentage of those 3 million people that want to play really good games, and that definitely exists. But that's what I call the low hanging fruit. The hard stuff here is how do we get mainstream gamers to start coming across, and the biggest hurdle that obviously I knew it was there, but it's become very, very apparent since the Team Liquid integration that we did. People, it doesn't matter if you have their best friend who they've trusted for 20 years, who loves gaming and gives them so many recommendations, even that person that turns around and says, "Hey, come and play this game that has NFTs." The minute they say any sort of affiliation with blockchain or crypto or whatever, it's like, go fuck yourself, right? Like, you are evil. You're a bad person, right? And so that, I think, is the biggest thing that we need to overcome. And sadly, I think it just comes with time, right? Like, obviously, uh, more and more good games that start launching in this space helps that, but I think to myself, like, if a Counter Strike or a World of Warcraft or if any of these games launched even right now in this market the way that it is, they would get 10% of the traction that they would get if they launched in mainstream, purely because someone isn't even going to look at it, right? The minute that they know that there's NFTs involved, and I think that will change over time. Like, that's why we're all here. That's the mission. But for me, the biggest realization is it's not going to happen this year. It's probably not going to happen next year, and so. When it does, it's going to be amazing. And people are going to realize, like, slowly over time, wow, like, I actually own things in this game and I can sell them and I can, potentially make money off it. Like, that is a really cool concept. I think once that penny drops for people, it's going to be huge. But that's the only thing that I'm wary of. It's still a ways away.
I agree with you 100%. And a couple months ago, my sentiment shifted. For the longest time, I just kept saying, like a lot of people, we just need a really good game. One to get people's attention. And what you said is absolutely true. You could have the best game, but the hatred is so thick and the masses just don't want to hear it. And so I really shifted in the last couple months to it's about getting the infrastructure ready. It's about getting the network ties in place. And where I got that from was from what Robbie was saying and watching what Immutable was doing. And I've seen it translate into some of the quality teams like yourself with that kind of mindset of getting everything ready in place, getting those network ties in place, and waiting for that moment when the light switch gets flipped. I don't know what's going to take. I'm a firm believer that it's going to take something on the TV with a popular personality or something to say, hey, I'm playing this game, to get people to give it a chance. And I think your team
It's not even that. It's like, trust me, I thought the same, but you have like there's TV personalities. Sure, that's one thing, but you've got to realize we just partnered up with the largest esports team in the world, playing games that they normally play. We're not saying like, hey, the people that follow these players that have millions of subscribers that have been subscribed for like 10 years, I'm now going to play a first person shooter when all you've seen me play is a strategy based game for the last 10 years. We didn't even do that. We literally got people in the genre that they have been used to playing for years and years and years. And I would say only 10% of that audience were open to the idea of playing a similar game that just the only difference is, and not even, this is the craziest part about it, doesn't even have NFTs at the moment. It's on Epic. It's on a mainstream platform where you can go and download it. You don't need a wallet. You don't need anything. It doesn't have anything crypto related right now. And the minute that that person, that streamer was like, by the way, it also has blockchain elements or like crypto or whatever, you saw the comments and it was pure hatred. Now, again, I'm saying 10% of them were open to it, but the other 90% were like, how could you do this? You know, it's like they'd stolen their baby or something. It was like, what have you done here? Like, how have you gone to the dark side? And so I totally agree with you or I guess I did, that it was going to take, you know, someone notable like that people loved, an actor or a, you know, comedian or someone coming out and saying, hey, you know, I'm playing a crypto game and it's amazing. But it's even more deeply seated than that, where people are like, the minute that you do that, you've sold out. I can't believe you've done that. It's, you know, the environment is going to burn. You're a terrible person. You know, so
Oh, I believe you. I believe you. We seen like eight. I think it was eight esports teams involved with the game, and none of them show up. And we were just like, wow, this is bad. So the fact that you got 10%, you're doing pretty good, man.
yeah.
I think you got to aim for the Asian market. They're way more open to blockchain gaming. They're more, and the reason that I believe that is I'm married to an Asian. That culture is more financially driven. You know, like the Asians like money, and the Western people have got it, so they don't care about it. So what the Western people see is this attack on the financialization of their hobby, which they don't want to get money in it. Where the Asian community are more open to, hey, this is earning money, well, play a game, that's great. You know, so I think that's where we're going to see mass adoption in Asia first, and then eventually, the West will see games that come out that don't completely financialize their hobby, and they'll start to go, oh, this is okay, and then they'll maybe start to learn about, you know, more games like yours that are more you know, revenue opportunities driven and that. So yeah, I can. And you look at the Twitter and you look at the history of crypto in gaming up until this point, it's pretty horrible. It's destroyed the idea of what gaming is. You know, everything. What you naming a game right now that's out that hasn't completely ruined the idea of what gaming is right now. Like, I'm not talking about what's coming, like your game and the games in the future. I'm talking about the things that have come out so far. It's all about money. Token go up. It's all this thing about money, money, money. It's not about gaming. So until that narrative changes and people see games that are crypto based and not completely financialization, I don't think it'll. I agree with you. I don't think it'll take off.
Yeah, it's the idea that I played a game, I went and I grinded it out for hours and hours and hours, and then I was able to, you know, acquire a whole bunch of assets in that one game, and now a new game has come out, and I can take those assets that I earned in the previous one, and I can start utilizing them. I don't need to start from zero. It translates to a new shiny skin or a weapon that I can access, or a racing car that I can access. That's when it starts to not be about the finance side of things, it starts to be about the accessibility and the fun that it's like, whoa, that guy's driving around some like super rare card. Like, how did he even do that, right? Like, we only started this game last week, and it's like, no, that guy has ported that in from a game that was out 10 years ago. And then people are like, whoa, man, like that, there's only 5 of those racing cards in the whole game. Like, that's fucked up, right? Like, how do I get that? And then there's also a marketplace there. Like, that's the type of thing that will open the eyes of gamers where they're like, okay, so this isn't about token go up or I can earn 45 cents a day playing this game. It's actually about the experience that it opens up, not the financialization.
1,000%. Absolutely. And we could sit here and talk about that stuff all day. Honestly, I could listen to you for freaking ages, because not only are you hilarious, but the accent adds to it as well. But honestly, I really do appreciate you taking the time to come on with us today. I know you have a meeting you have to get to, and I promise we'd do a hard stop. So honestly, I think it's something that we should do again. And I think we should try to. I'll get with you, and we'll try to figure out some other time so that you can come on and we can continue this conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me, guys. It's been quite fun. I've really enjoyed the questions.
Absolutely, and make sure everyone, you guys follow Kieran and Illuvium. You can catch him on Twitch every once in a while. Pork Lamington, one of the best Twitch usernames I've seen in a while. But yeah, thank you again. I really do appreciate it.
No worries, guys.
It's awesome because I'll say this and we'll get going. You guys did one of the first Dutch auctions that I know of in the crypto space, and I was fortunate enough to have participated in that. I watched it for a couple days, like figuring out, hey, when should I buy? Is this the right time? Things like that, and it was such a experience to be a part of, and it's something that I think more and more of these games and also marketplaces will start doing, because it actually it allows for true price discovery and allowing for you to realize like what the actual cost of or the price of something is going to be. The people that really want it, they're going to jump in right away and pay whatever, and they're going to be okay with it. And then someone like me that doesn't have oodles of money, I actually was able to time it, and I got it within like 0.04 or excuse me, 0.045 of what the actual settled price was going to be. And I was like, dude, I don't know if it was worth staying up for 3 days for, but I did, and I was able to time it.
Be careful, you're showing your age here now. That was like, what, 45 years ago we did that same?
I know, man.
Thanks for coming on, Kieran. Appreciate you spending time with the Gamers Galaxie. Follow us all, if you wouldn't mind, people in the audience. Have a good one, everyone.
No
Bye.
worries. All right, guys. Have a great night. Cheers.
Bye now.
Good night.